So I was asked to talk about brain, gut, and immune. And I think what's interesting, and I hope by the end of the night you're going to be quite the expert to understand that they're highly connected. They're not separate. They're really not separate. And I've been talking about this particular topic for a very, very long time. I think my first CME, that's medical lectures for doctors, on this topic was almost 30 years ago. And I remember I was on the stage in front of behavioral health, and I said, okay, you guys are all trying to get everybody to hold on to their serotonin. You're giving SSRIs and the medication's out like candy, and it doesn't give them serotonin, it just tries to help them hold on to it. Do you know where it's made? Do you know where it's made in the body? And at that time, they were saying, oh, it's in the hypothalamus, all the places in the brain. Do you guys know where it's made? Mostly made? In the gut. It's made down here. And it's modulated and it's told what to do. And not just serotonin, but dopamine. All these neurotransmitters, your brain chemistry, it's made in here and it's told what to do in here. And there's a lot going on in here that we're going to talk about. Don't worry about looking at all these words up on the screen. But I want it to be there, because if you want a copy of this, you'll be able to get it from us. And those at home will be able to look at this too. But you need to know that the brain and the gut really are constantly talking. And we've been hearing about the vagus nerve, right? All about, do vagal nerve exercises. Well, why? The vagus nerve is one of the pathways that connects this brain to this gut, right? And it's constantly looking at it. The other thing is the gut and the immune system. Most of your immune modulators, your immune system, those white blood cells, a lot of it is made in your gut. So is this important? As a naturopathic medical doctor who's licensed in both systems of medicine, that's day one of naturopathic school. Health begins and ends in the gut. And everything that's going on here and here and here and all this, a lot of it has to do with the gut health. And the gut and the immune system is very important. We're learning more and more about the microbiome, which I'll talk about in a minute, and how that really works. Now, have you heard that the gut is the second brain? I see a couple doing this. So it's called the enteric nervous system. And that nervous system, the gut's own nervous system, it's got its own thing going on. It has 200 to 600 million nerve cells. That is more than what's found in the spinal cord. We think about the brain and the nervous system and the spine, more neurons and more communication. A lot of it is made and modulated in the gut. It works on its own. It tells the body what to do. It sends many chemical messengers throughout our entire body. So do we think that this nervous system in the gut is important? Yes, and there's a lot of research going on. Because if we can talk better to this nervous system in the gut, not just the one that's coming from the brainstem, then we're going to get better and better at helping ourselves have a better quality of life. And when you feel upset about something and you feel that flutter in your gut, that's a real thing. That's a chemical reaction. That is something going on between the brain and the gut. They're very intimately involved with each other. How do they work together? This is part of it. When you're stressed, your brain, you got upset about something, that's why your stomach hurts. And when your stomach hurts, your brain doesn't work well. Also, if your gut is unhappy, that really does, if you've got a stomach ache, that's sending real signals up to your brain saying something isn't right, something isn't right. And the bacteria in your gut, the microbiome, all those little bugs, can make chemicals that affect how your brains work. They make their own chemicals, and they're affecting your brain. Do you realize that most of your body, this that we're looking at right now, the majority of it is bugs? It's not your human cells. We're mostly bugs. It freaks a lot of people out, right? But the point of this is that we've got to learn more and be nicer to the bugs, because we're living with them, and the majority of what you're looking at is bugs, not human cells. And the microbiome talks to the immune system, tells it when and how to fight germs. This is just a picture description of microbiome. It's not just in the gut. We have a microbiome on our skin. We're learning more in skincare that we're developing, and it's amazing because by working on the microbiome of the skin, it actually affects the immune system. So these bugs, very, very important for us to learn more about. And this is the big piece that you've got to know. The brain talks to the gut, and you can see that the gut talks to the brain. The gut talks to the microbiome. The microbiome, the bugs talk to the gut, and the bugs talk to the brain, and the brain talks to the guts. It's all connected. And if one piece is not working well, none of it's going to be at 100%. Leaky gut. How many of you guys have heard about leaky gut? I mean, it's a big thing. Everybody's talking about it now. And really what it is, we've got a border. It looks like it's called a brush border, and it looks like a brush on the inside lining of the gut and the intestines. And that border is supposed to protect things to not get in and not lose vitamins and minerals. It's supposed to be what we call tight junctions. So they're supposed to be right next to each other like this. When you have things that, and we'll talk about what causes the damage, when there's an opening, you're losing things that are nutrients that are needed, and you're getting bad things, viruses, bacteria, other things can enter into that gut wall lining. So if we talk about the causes of imbalance, this microbiome, which is very important, what causes it? And one of the biggest things that I don't think we talk about enough is that the more diverse the bugs are, the healthier you are. You might have 50, you might have 500, you might have 5,000. We know that the more different bugs you have, the healthier you are. And now we also know that chronic inflammation, what's going to cause that damage to the gut wall lining? Just chronic inflammation. It can be from all kinds of things that you can contract and have problems with, but we also know that the chronic inflammation is associated with depression, with Alzheimer's, brain diseases, gut diseases. They're all connected, and inflammation is a really, really bad guy for a lot of things. And we also know that in cancer, which I'm going to talk about in a minute. But other stress and mental health issues. Interesting that chronic stress, just worrying, just stress alone damages the microbiome and can cause leaky gut. So there's that brain, again, that connection coming that way. It can cause immune dysregulation. So if you have autoimmune disease, that means the immune system is too active and you need to say, shh, quit reacting to everything. It really has to do a lot with the bugs that we're talking about. And mental health disorders, anxiety, depression, they can influence the immune responses. Just having those on board. Diet and nutrition, of course we know. If you don't get enough fiber and you don't have enough vitamins and minerals, you're not eating healthy, the bugs are going to have a heyday. They love the junk. They're going to do better than our human cells are going to do. And so our diet is very, very important. And a lot of what we're eating today in America causes chronic inflammation. Just the foods themselves cause inflammation. And nutrient deficiencies, especially omega-3s and polyphenols. I'll talk about what those are in a minute, but a hint, it's some stuff that many of you are going to like. But deficiencies in those can also cause that brain-gut axis to have problems. And environmental problems. I know you guys have probably heard a lot of lectures on the environmental issues, toxins, all the things that we're exposed to now, and we know, and the science shows it, that it's disrupting and affecting that gut wall barrier that we need. Those environmental toxins also hit the nervous system and the brain, everything that we're talking about today. Some of you may have a little genetic predisposition. You got a gene that makes it a little harder for your body to repair after an insult. That doesn't mean that you give up, that you say, well, I've got this gene, I'm just going to be sick. We like to talk about the epigenetics. You've got a blueprint, a gene. You can't change, well, we can. We've got CRISPR technology. Soon we're going to be able to, and already manipulating genes. But generally genes are set. What you can do is epigenetic. The things that we're talking about, your environment, your stress, all those things you can work on, that down regulates the bad genes and up regulates the good genes. That's what we need to be paying attention to, not just saying I have a gene that makes me more likely to have issues. But there are different inherited disease that can cause more problems for some people. Infections and pathogens. I do a lot of stool analysis on patients, and I will tell you, many of you have parasites. You don't know it. I studied with the world's leading parasitologist while I was still in medical school and traveled to Egypt to our Navy base there for infectious disease and parasitology. So I know more about parasites than most doctors that aren't a parasitologist. But what I'll tell you is when I did a study of 10,000 known pathogens, we knew these patients had been identified. We knew what their parasites were. Did a study on that. And I was like, what are the symptoms? What are the top symptoms? What do you think, shout out, what do you think the top symptom, where in your body do you think would be telling you there's a parasite? Where do you think? Stomach, right? No, it's number 4. Number 4. I thought it would be up there too. You'd have a GI disruption. I have patients all the time. It's fatigue, it's energy, it's an ache and a pain. Something that the patient says something's not right. They go to all the doctors, they do the basic test, and the doctor says it's all in your head. And they're going, but I know something's wrong. And we do the basic labs, we do the things and say, okay, let's look. And then I talk about what a normal bowel movement should look like, which we're going to do in a minute. Just get ready. Then they say, well, maybe, and we test, and I will tell you more people have parasites than they know. And that affects the microbiome in the gut also. And they directly affect the brain function, directly affect how your brain is working. Some people with depression and anxiety get better when we clear up the parasites. Known neurotoxins, known. These are, they damage the brain. Lead, mercury, drinking alcohol. Yes, wine for some people could be beneficial. It depends on your genes. Some people know, but there's Botox. And we can talk about that later. You can ask me on the Q&A what I think about that. But I will just say right here and now, it's the most potent neurotoxin known to man. So I'm okay with having this and this a little bit. I earned these, right? So, and I'm not putting judgment on anybody, all my friends, and I have patients that do it. I just say, as long as you understand, as long as that's important to you, okay. Now, arsenic, aluminum, and I will tell you that the majority, I would suggest that I don't even think I'd find one person in this room that if we did a urine test, a challenge with a chelating agent, and we looked at your lead and mercury levels, I bet I wouldn't find one of you that it was in normal range, and normal by the CDC. I mean, we're allowed to be a certain amount of toxic before they say there's a problem. But people that we test, almost all of us, especially as we age, it builds up, and now we've got too much of this on board. I've got some good news coming in a minute, so just hang on. Okay. Sugar, we know it's bad, right? We know. And everybody thinks, well, I don't want diabetes, and I don't want to gain weight. Well, it disrupts your gut microbiome. And it actually increases, you have bad bugs that create inflammation. What do they like to eat? Sugar. And it increases the pro-inflammatory bacteria. And it decreases your good bugs so they can't repair the damage. Sugar also increased intestinal permeability, the leaky gut that we just talked about. It alters your bile acid concentrations. Now you're messing with the liver and the gallbladder. Changes in the gut bacteria, and it allows more toxins and bacteria to get in. Systemic inflammation. We know, we all know, I don't want inflammation. It's going to make me feel bad, but it's also going to make you ill. So chronic inflammation has so many studies with sugar and inflammation. Brain function impairment. So if you say, well, I'm not thinking as well as I used to, my memory's not, well, maybe I'm getting older. No, this is never an excuse. No. Sugar. We know what it does to it causes cognitive impairment. So if you're not feeling well, your brain's not working well, maybe you should cut down on some sugar and see what happens there. And it also alters the gene expression that's related to these neurotransmitters. This whole thing going from the brain to the gut and the brain trying to do its thing, it can't do it well when we have sugar on board. It also affects your immune system. In multiple pathways. It affects the bacteria, it causes the inflammation. It also metabolic disruption. What does that mean? Well, we know about diabetes. And type 2 diabetes is 100% preventable and reversible. I'm going to say that again, 100%. So if somebody's saying, oh, you're pre-diabetic, or you've got, oh, I'm just older and I've become diabetic, if it's type 2 and it's not the insulin, the genetic predisposition, you can reverse it. And the first thing you need to do is get the metabolism of the body away from sugar. Now, this, Dr. Warburg won a Nobel Prize in 1931. And it was looking at, when you do a PET scan, why does it light up where there's cancer? Anybody know why? When you get a cancer, you go, oh, there's cancer there, and there. Why is it lighting up on a PET scan? When they give you a PET scan, they give you blood, they give you sugar into your veins, and it goes through the body, and wherever there's cancer, it goes, yeah, and it lights up. Cancer's only fuel. And I never want to use the word only, but at this point, we believe cancer really, really uses sugar. That's its number one food. Number one. And we can see it. We can see it. And Dr. Warburg won the Nobel Prize, and then what happened, pharmaceuticals came in. We got away from the metabolic theory of cancer, and we went into DNA, and we started studying genetics for cancer. Now, there's some utility there, but less than 10% of cancers are genetic. Say that again. Less than 10%. They're a metabolic disease. So those of us that are studying this, that are researchers and using it with our patients and with our clients, we're seeing what happens when we starve the cancers. And this has been proven out. What happens is you have mitochondrial damage. So if it's not genetic, what's happening? You have damage. Remember, the ATP was created when you're in school. You have the ATP, the energy inside the cell, the mitochondria. That gets damaged, and that's, in our world and in our opinions, is really showing that that is the first step and the reason for most cancers. Blood glucose is directly correlated with tumor growth. We get patients on lower sugar, the tumors can start shrinking. The more they do it, the faster the tumor grows. And so I'm going to come back to that in a minute, but BIG, I'm using that acronym for brain, immune, gut. Brain, immune, gut, all right? What can you do? What are the things you guys can do now? What will support all three systems? Probiotics and fermented food, right? They positively, and this is all studied. This isn't my wannabe list. These are actual studies behind all of this. And they contain the beneficial bacteria that helps your mood and your brain function. Prebiotic fiber, eat grains, nuts, seeds, unless you're keto, and then you got to look at it a little differently. And those prebiotics help promote the good bacteria, back to that microbiome. Omega-3 fatty acids. Do you know that omega-3s, those fats, can increase the good bacteria and reduce brain disorders? Omega-3s. Not to mention a lot of the cholesterols, the types of cholesterols that can be benefited from it too. And they are essential for brain development and function. So you say, well, my brain, I'm older, my brain's not developing. Guess what? It helps neurogenesis, developing new pathways. It's never too late. Never too late. Polyphenol foods, talked about that a minute ago. That's cocoa. Yes, that's chocolate. But if you put the sugar in it, that's not going to work well, right? It's defeating the purpose. Green tea, olive oil, and coffee. They really help improve cognition, and they help the bugs. So now we're working on the big again, brain, immune, gut. Some herbal medicines I put in here, ginseng and berberine, are showing they have neuroprotective effects. The problem is getting them in there, and the products right out there right now in the supplement industry. Berberine is one of those tough ones that's hard to get absorbed, so I don't really rely on it that much. But I think that we are going to get some better forms that will help us, and the research shows that it can help us. So neurodegenerative diseases can be helped by improving that gut wall lining. Some more. What about mushrooms? Shiitake mushrooms, B6, impacts serotonin. If you're depressed, eat some mushrooms, right? Well, should qualify that. Well, any of them, but if they're hallucinogenic, then you won't care if you're depressed. But tryptophan-rich foods, that's why after turkey everybody wants to lay down and take a nap, but it also increases serotonin and makes you feel better. Turkey, eggs, and cheese help support your serotonin, your happy hormone. Limit your inflammatory foods. You know what they are. We know sugar, we know the breads and the pastas and the queso, we know. I don't need to go into that with you guys, I hope not. At this point, you know if it's good or bad. When you go to a restaurant or you're about to cook or you're in the grocery store, you should say, is this going to heal my body or hurt my body? That's the question you should ask instead of what sounds good right now. I really want a burger. Burgers aren't bad, but if you take the bun off. But limit your inflammatory foods, healthy fats, olive oil, avocados, they're anti-inflammatory. They help brain, immune, and gut. Lifestyle, reduce the alcohol and quit smoking if you are. Manage your stress. Remember we talked about at the beginning, stress damages that gut wall lining and causes leaky gut. So I'll go into a little bit more later, but meditation, yoga, those are things that I know that you're exposed to here. Fasting shows promise in longevity. Walter Longo, our groups of researchers that we know how well and in all the different multiple ways that fasting can help you live longer, a healthier, better life. Ask me questions at the end if you want more information on that. What type of fasting? What do we know? And also supplements for the immune system that have some studies behind it. Vitamin C, zinc, vitamin D, those are basics, right? And NAC, N-acetylcysteine, and immunozyme. I put that up there because I love enzymes. We don't use them enough. They systemically get inflammation down. If they're digestive enzymes, they help you digest your food. We're not using enzymes enough in medicine. Exercise and brain health. We know it's good for us, and it's not just about losing weight, but enhanced neuroplasticity. You can form new neural connections in your brain. You can form new ones. I know that many years ago, my mother had a physician accident-induced stroke, and we were told at that time that there are no neurons. There's no neuroplasticity. You damage a brain, it's done. There's nothing, she'll never be better. And I said, watch me. We did. We used cold lasers and many things, and we got her back. So you can. Neuroplasticity, now we know you can get better at your memory, you can get better at your learning, and you can form new pathways, and exercise is a great way to do it. Increases the blood flow to get oxygen and nutrients, and mood enhancement. When you exercise, you have endorphins that affects your mood. You're going to feel better. Now, I know the first 2 weeks are not fun when you're getting back into something, but let me encourage you tonight. Do it for 2 weeks and see how you feel, see how you sleep. See how your gut's doing. It'll make a difference. And neuroprotective effects. It actually decreases your risk for developing Alzheimer's and other neurological diseases, Parkinson's, you name it, MS, all the neurologicals. Improves sleep quality. How many of you, I had somebody when we were sitting here this morning, today, she looked quickly at her sheet. She said, well, yeah, the sleep one's the one I'm going to have trouble with, right? How many of you might still have a sleep issue? Try some exercise instead of a drug that might get you to sleep, but it's not allowing you to get down into REM and deep sleep. You're asleep, but you're not in the restorative type of sleep that you need. A normal brain and a normal sleep is different than a medicated one. Research findings are really, really showing us that cognitive performance and health. Here's your gut and immune system. What does exercise do on that? Gut motility, the microbiome, it increases that. Reduced inflammation. What does it do with the immune system? It actually strengthens your immune system by promoting circulation of your immune cells. It actually circulates those buggers around so they can do what they're supposed to be doing. If they're sitting in a spot sluggish and thick, sticky blood, you can't get them where they need to be. So remember that too. And stress reduction, it helps you with your stress hormones, cortisol, belly fat, worry, stress hormone, can't sleep. That one, exercise really, really helps with this. And it helps also in reducing the risk of pretty much most chronic degenerative diseases and autoimmune disease. Okay, and balance is key though. If you're a runner and you're overdoing it, you're causing stress, leaky gut, and these issues can happen if you're overdoing it. It's about balance, right? So this is a group that, this is Dr. Dominic D'Agostino here. Let me see if my pointer's going to go. No, that's okay. Right here. Whoop. Hang on. I don't want you guys to see this. This is Dr. D'Agostino. He's one of my friends and colleagues that we work together. He is, and this is some of the, the researchers that they have. NEMO is they go down under the sea and they go underneath in a tank down under the sea, and they spend months there and they study. So what does he study? He studies the Navy SEALs and the astronauts because they're under immense stress, physical, emotional, all types of stress that you can imagine. The Navy SEALs, he studied them. He is funded by the Department of Defense, NASA. Look up here who's funding him, and what did they want him to do? Find what are the treatments that will help our super soldiers and help our soldiers be able to handle this amount of stress and be able to do their jobs. What he found was the same therapies that he was finding that worked to keep them better and healthier and repair are the same therapies that we're using in cancer, in our cancer patients. He found when he took his microscope down underneath and started looking at cells underneath the ocean, and he saw apoptosis, killing of cancer cells. He says, whoa, okay, we got to study this. He found Dr. Thomas Seyfried, another friend and colleague, who is studying at Boston College, mouse studies, but now we're using all of this in patients and clients now. He brought back, remember Dr. Warburg that won the Nobel Prize for studying the mitochondria and the damage? He brought back that and said, and he wrote his book, Cancer is a Metabolic Disease, and he look him up, watch his videos. He's a forefront out there saying we're studying the wrong thing. We're going down the wrong path, and we have for a long time. He's very, very vocal about it. But what are the things? What are the things that they found? Everybody's going, what was it? What was it? Ketogenic diet. Yes, you've heard of it. How many of you have even tried it? In today's world, a lot of people have. I would ask you, how did you track it? Did you know you were in ketosis? The urine strips aren't accurate. If you were not doing it right, likelihood would you were starving yourself down, you're going to lose some weight, but you weren't getting the benefit from it because you weren't in ketosis. If you're going to do it, you do it right. And if you do it right, ketones are the cleanest, greatest fuel for the brain, the gut, the immune system. It's clean, good fuel if you're producing ketones. But if you're just starving yourself down doing a kind of a keto kind of thing, it's going to be better. You have less sugar, but you're not going to get the full benefits. When we're using it in cancer and Parkinson's and MS, you got to do it right. And can you do it right preventatively? Yes. And I like telling people, they say, well, how often? I say a couple times a year. I think you should go through a cycle of getting into into ketosis. You're going to kill off a few cancer cells. You're going to help protect your brain. You're going to get your immune system kicked off. Why wouldn't you think about it? And if you have a few pounds you'd like to shed, great. But here's the beautiful thing about it. In our cancer patients, we don't want them to lose weight. Muscle wasting is called cachexia. It's something we work hard against. Guess what ketogenic diet does? It saves the muscles. So why do you think it works on the super soldiers? Why does it work? It keeps their muscles strong and big and functional and uses the excess fat, uses that as fuel instead of glucose. Lots and lots of benefits. Brain, memory, learning. I have so many patients that this has helped immensely when they have neurological. What is the ketogenic diet with the gut and the immune system? Microbiome balance, it helps you balance that bacteria that we're talking about. Reduces inflammation, may improve your digestion, especially if you have bloating and gas. It can be helpful there. What about the immune system? Anti-inflammatory, again, they help modulate the immune response. Those little ketone molecules, they're amazing. Really good fuel, and they're smart, and they help your immune system be smarter. Autoimmune conditions. I have patients that have tried everything with autoimmune. And we put them on this and the next therapy I'm going to tell you about in a minute, and their autoimmune is under control for the first time in their lives, right? Because we're working with the mitochondria. We're working with the mitochondria, and we're letting ketones be available. And it increases your immune defense, can help you against catching things. And when you do, get over it faster and better. All right. Oh, let me go back. Wait, I got something to give away. All right. If we can't do sugar, what's the next best one? Anybody know? Throw them out. No, honey still spikes your blood sugars. It's better than sugar, but it's still going to spike the blood sugar. Who said that? Okay. Where is that? Allulose. There's an educated person right there. Here's a package of allulose that you can use with you. Okay, here, can I throw it at you? There you go. What is allulose? Well, I'm going to say it right up here. You'll have it. Allulose. Now, what you may not know, it's only 1/10 of the calories of table sugar. It helps you stabilize your blood sugar. It actually helps with fat loss. It helps with your fatty liver, right? It also helps with dental health. It may improve your endurance when you're exercising, help reduce your inflammation, and might support mitochondrial function. And I'm going to tell you, the white papers are coming. I know it supports mitochondrial function. You're going to see it. But guess what else it does? I don't have it on the slide because it's under wraps, but I'm just going to tell you now. You'll be one of the first groups to hear it. There is a research signal showing up that it may also be fighting cancer. Why wouldn't be using this? Why wouldn't you use this for your sweetener? So allulose, you can get it anywhere. RX Sugar is one of the brands. They're in the grocery stores. You can get it online. It's easy, right? Easy. So allulose, we liked monk fruit in ketogenic. We were using monk fruit, but it's very expensive. And it didn't have as many benefits as this. So try it. What now? It's plant-based. It's actually from plants. Yeah, so you'll like it. The more you read about it, and I think I have it on that slide anyway. Sorry, did I go forward? Yeah, I mean, I thought I had it on there maybe, but it is plant-based, which you'll like, right? And biomass and all that, and we're not going to use it and be out of it. So this was the next thing. Two big things that we use with the super soldiers, right? Ketogenic diet, hyperbaric oxygen. If you asked me if you could say, if I could have anything in the world, like as far as a technology, what would it be? What would it be? I will tell you, the more we use and the more we know about hyperbaric oxygen, the better it's getting. And hyperbaric oxygen this is out of Harvard recently, in just a few treatments, like I think it was 6 or 8 treatments, increases your stem cells by 8.5-fold. Now, you can talk about stem cell treatments, but there's a lot of issues there that we're concerned about in the cancer world, because you can extend life of all kinds of things, including cancer. So I'm a little hesitant still, we are, on some stem cell therapies. But hyperbaric increases your own stem cells by 8.5-fold. What else does it do? Neuroprotection, enhanced cognition, reduces the inflammation, autism, cerebral palsy, strokes. There are 14 indications that insurance will even pay for now, right? So it is, yes, it's a big chamber. You go in, I'll show you a picture in a minute, under pressure, and you're breathing oxygen. And if you put in most diseases, anything that you're struggling with right now, put it into PubMed. Do you guys know PubMed, P-U-B-M-E-D? Free out there, go in there and type in uterine fibroid and hyperbaric oxygen. You're going to see a study on it. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of studies have been done, and especially on the military side, and now we're using it a lot in the oncology and neurodegenerative world. So, impact on your gut health. Remember, we're going back to the brain-gut immune, improved healing. That recovery, that damage that's been done to the gut, it helps heal most things of recovery. Microbiome balance, that oxygen helps your microbiome get better. Increased nutrient absorption, it drives the nutrients where they need to go. Anti-inflammatory, enhanced immune function, and also helps with autoimmune conditions. So no wonder these are the therapies that are being used on our military. Right, on helping our guys be able to defend our country. This is a mouse study. This right here is a mouse I'm sorry if you have problems with that, but this is the studies that have been done. This is metastatic cancer, okay? And they put in a tumor cell here. That's the way it goes. And two of the people on this are Dr. Seafried and Dr. D'Agostino that I just introduced you to, and one of their students. Now she's not a student anymore, but this is metastatic cancer. This is what happens after hyperbaric treatments. This is what happens with the ketogenic diet. This happens with ketogenic and hyperbaric together. Now, it's not just in mouse studies. This is all, this big black part, don't worry about that. Don't worry about these parts. All this other, that is metastatic cancer. Metastatic cancer on a PET scan. 5 months later, after doing hyperbaric, ketogenic diet, a type of exercise, interval training that we do, and a couple other therapies, but no standard of care, all of those are gone. These are not cancer here. It was a complete resolution, a complete response. That's a human. And I just had a hard conversation with his parents. This is a 13-year-old client of mine. He's not a patient because he's not in Arizona, but I work with clients all over the world. And he has an inoperable, very aggressive brain tumor that he should have had. He was given weeks, if not months, probably about a year ago. Still have Jacob. He's doing well, but this is Jacob in his hyperbaric chamber. He loves it. It's the only time he feels good. We've done miraculous things, and he's still in the fight. He does ketogenic diet, and he doesn't take a bite of anything that's going to take him out of it. This little young man is a hero. I'm talking about our war heroes. This is a hero as well, and his whole family. I don't have the picture of the family, but talk about they looked at everything. Standard of care has nothing to offer except palliative care. There's not even, they went into one clinical trial, he got worse. Started these two therapies, and he's had quality of life, and he's still with us. So I felt very grateful to be part of the research team and doctors that are utilizing metabolic therapies for cancer and for neurological diseases, because there's no side effects and people feel better. Oh, there's his family. I did put him on there. He's got 2 older brothers, and there's his mom and dad. And they wanted me to share the pictures to give inspiration and hope to people. So now, let's talk about you. That sheet in front of you, right? If you have a pen, now don't start filling it out yet. I want to describe what normal is and ask you a few questions before you rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10. 10 is you're a rock star at it. 1 is we may need some help. So let's think about sleep. What's the quality of your sleep? Are you wearing, I know you have a watch on. How many have Aura rings on? You know what that is, the rings? Yeah, there's a few Aura rings. Apple Watches, they're trackers. They're letting you know how much REM sleep and deep sleep. Why do you care? The type of sleep you're getting is very important. You could lay in the bed for 8 hours, but that's not good restorative sleep. So if you don't know, that's okay. The next question would be, do you get up in the morning, you've got energy, you roll out of bed, you got energy all day? That might be a good indication you're sleeping pretty well. Give yourself a 1 if you have trouble going to sleep and you can't stay asleep. That would be a 1. You can't go to sleep, and then when you finally do, you're up all night. That's a 1. We've got problems. Give yourself a 10 if you wake up ready to go. You go all day long. You don't crash in the afternoon. You're going, and then it's time for bed, and you're able to go to sleep. Okay? That's the first one. Next one, body. Now, I'm not talking about weight. I'm not talking about BMI. BMI, we should have thrown that out a long time ago. We've known it's a poor measure. BMI, you'll go to your doctor and say, oh, your BMI is a little high, or you're good. Football professional athletes are high on BMI. It's a bad measure. It doesn't look at whether it's muscle, fat, that kind of deal. But guess what the new way to measure you is? If you want to know your most risk for cardiovascular diseases and having a heart attack and a stroke, it's called the roundness factor. Roundness. You get a picture what it is. Your height compared to what your middle is. Now, you know, I see a few of you looking down. If that belly is there, that's your biggest risk factor. It's not your BMI. It's pretty simple, right? Pretty simple. Belly's bad deal. Bellies equal bad. If you remember one thing tonight, that's it. So number one is, you know, if you're weak, you feel weak, your body is weak, you feel flabby, you just feel weak, and you don't like looking at yourself in the mirror. You just can't even go there. That would be a 1. You're weak. A 10 will be you have energy, you feel strong, and you're taking care of your body. That's a 10. You're really taking care of it and you feel good. That's a 10. Okay, see if you'd be thinking through it. Next one, digestion. Now, told you we were going to talk about poop and now we're going to do it. How many of you ever had been at a lecture where they really describing what a normal is? Okay. One. Well, you're my husband. That doesn't count. You've been in a lot of these lectures. Okay. The length from about your wrist to your elbow, about that long. Now, the men are going, yeah. And the women are going, what? What? About this long. Now, it might be in 2 pieces, but generally about this long. It should be about as big around as your wrist in the middle of the log. I'm going to say it again, a log. A log that is easily passed, medium brown color, and it doesn't smell bad. Now, there's certain things you eat, but for the most part, doesn't smell bad, easily passed, pretty good size. That is a normal bowel movement. And it should happen almost every day. And if you're one of those that you get up and it's the same time every morning, hallelujah, amen, that's great. And it looks like that. Those people have good health in many ways. And that's your goal. So, 1, you have stinky poo. It's not formed into a log. It might be little rabbit pellets. You don't go every day. Those are indications that your microbiome and your gut is not working well. And I hope that I let you understand how important that gut health is for your brain and your immune system, not just the gut tonight. And a 10 would be, every day you produce your log and you look back, which you should be looking. If you're one of that goes, I don't know what it looks like, I never look at it. You better start looking because it's a real good indication of how your digestion is working. It's time to start looking at your poop. But a 10 would be, you look back and you go, oh, that was pretty good. You want to tell somebody about it, right? You're like, wow, that came out of me. Oh, that was a good one, and you feel better. So that's a 10. Next one, it is your energy level. Energy level. You can get energy from coffee for a minute, right? But are you waking up with really good energy? If you're waking up, we call it, if you're waking up and you're kind of wired and tired, you can't get to sleep at night. Your brain's going, you can't shut it off, but you're exhausted. That's called wired and tired. And that's going to affect your energy a lot, not just the sleep, but the overall energy. A 1 would be wired and tired. A 10 will be like my almost 91-year-old father, who, I'll tell you more about him in a minute, because age is not an excuse. But a 10 would be, I think he was 87. Yeah, he was 87. And he and his wife at the time went to hot springs. And they paid more money than I even believed they would do. But they went to go to the hot springs and they forgot their swimsuits. And so they were not going to not get their money out of it. So they waited till everybody went to sleep. And they went skinny dipping. And they got really hot. And so they lay down on the bench and they went to sleep. And they got caught. But the next day, everybody was high-fiving the 87 and she was 90 because they looked good. They were athletes. They looked good and they felt good. Everybody was high-fiving them. The point is your energy should be good. I don't care what time. Now, we may slow down a little bit. We may need to slow down a little bit as we age, but not a lot. I want you to be able to skinny dip at 87 years old and have energy to do that at night. Just don't get caught. So that's a 10. Mental state. How is your clarity, your cognition? Is your brain working? What's your memory? How's your memory doing? Are you depressed? Are you anxious? How's that mental, how's that brain working for you right now in all those categories, right? And so I would give yourself a 1 if you're having really some struggles with your memory and it's getting worse, right? And if you can't focus, right? That's an issue there. A 10 is, we call it firing and wiring. Your brain is on it. It can focus, you can remember things. Now, I mean, we all forget some people's names, sometimes on purpose, but we have some little memory things, and if you're one of those, you've never remembered where you put your keys, that's not a problem. You've always been that way. So you've got to look at where were you 10, 20 years ago, and where are you now? So a 10 is your brain is wiring and firing, and you feel happy. You feel happy most of the time. There's situational depression and situational things that are happen. That's just being a normal human being. But most of the time, we should feel pretty good and feel that brain's working for us. Relationships. Do you have strong relationships and people around you? This is very, very important. You know, the blue zones, they studied the people that are living there. They're living longer, happier, and healthier in the blue zones. Longer, happier, and healthier. What did they have in common? Because they're in different places. It wasn't their diet. Their diet was all over the place. Had some, they were pretty much eating better than most people, but there was not a lot of correlation there. What they had was a community that they had put around you, like what you have at Vail Symposium and people sitting in this room. You have a community around you that are trying to be healthy, still using your brain, working, listening, learning. They put community around them. The other is the social circles that they put themselves around. They don't let a lot of negativity in. They don't. And you got to be careful on your side. If you got somebody who's toxic in your life and they're affecting yours, you got to really rethink that. Really rethink that. Only have the people that are going to help you create your own little blue zone. And do you know that faith-based communities live 4 to 14 years longer than people that aren't in a community faith-based? Just saying it. That's just the stats. It doesn't mean you have to go to church. It could be a spiritual, whatever it is, but faith, or spiritual-based communities. All right. A 1 would be, and I would say, God bless any of you that have one of these at home, even a grandchild or a child. It really affects your stress hormones, everything that we're talking about from your brain and immune and gut. So rate yourself a 1, no family, no friends, no colleagues, don't have anybody around you, and you almost feel like life, what's the purpose? That's a 1. And I hope no one in here is a 1. A 10 is that you have the right tribe around you, the right people around you, and you still can enjoy this. Now, you can call this intimacy, call it sex, whatever it is, but that is an important part of being a human being, and I don't care how old you are. Ask my 91-year-old dad, who still has, I don't know how many girlfriends, how many, he's juggling 3 of them now? Yeah. Okay, so, but I'm not saying like this. It's relationships and touching and being touched is very, very important. You don't have to have a partner. You can be intimate with yourself. It's an important part. So rate yourself on that relationship part of how you feel like you're doing with your community around you. How's that? And then the last one, probably one of the most important, if not the most important, is your spiritual health. How are we doing there? I'm talking about feeling connected, a deep sense of peace, being able to find it. Stuff happens in life. It's going to throw you out. But do you have a practice? Do you have a prayer, a meditation, something in your life when chaos is coming at you that you can go there, connect to whatever that belief system is that you have, and feel that real deep sense of peace and connection? That's spiritual health. And a 1 is no connection and you just really feel alone. You could have people around you. You can have great relationships, lots of fun friends, all that, and still feel very, very alone. And spiritual health helps you step outside of that. A 10 is you really feel that if something happened in your life and you say, but I have something that I could do that would bring me to a sense of peace. And I talk with my cancer patients about this, of saying that the patients who thrive, not just survive, they've lost the fear of cancer, they've lost the fear of death. Many of them don't want to die because they want to leave their loved ones behind. We're afraid that's going to happen to the loved ones. But when they get to the place that they can feel this deep connection and know it's all okay, it's all okay and it's going to be okay. When they can truly let go, those are the ones that are the medical miracles that we cannot explain by modern medicine, that we go, spontaneous remission. Don't have any clue how it could have happened that fast or in that way. But that's what they have in connection. I thought it was just me noticing this over the years, and then Kelly Turner wrote a book, Radical Remission. She was studying, she was a researcher in something else, and she was donating her time in a cancer ward. And there were people that they had been let go. They said, it's the last time they hugged, go home, get your affairs in order, we've done everything that we can do. And she'd see them back. And they go, oh, the cancer's gone. She said, you had 2 weeks to live. And she said, who's studying that? Nobody. So she traveled around the world. Is it the diet? Is it lifestyle? All the things. And she came back, and there were, in general, I don't want to paraphrase too much and spoil the book, but pretty much, I mean, it was a radical change in diet. Ketogenic does that. It's high fat, not high protein. It's not Atkins, it's high fat. Radical change in diet, radical change in exercise. If you're a couch potato, you need to move. And if you're a marathon runner, you may need to calm it down. You're creating too much free radical damage. The other 3 had to do with what I'm talking about now. A spiritual connection. Feeling strong in some kind of belief system for yourself. That's what they had. That brings us to, and I think that is it, to the next part. Let me see what time. Yay! 7:03. I couldn't have timed that better. Yay! We're on time. You get to experience something right now because we're talking about that. And I want you to know that my husband, Barry Goldstein, and those of you who are going to come tomorrow night, you'll get a really big treat. We were talking about in the intro that he won a Grammy for producing Les Paul, but he does the music for Joe Dispenza, Dr. Daniel Amen. You name the big guys in the self-help world, they all know Barry, and most of them are using his music for a reason. And he'll teach you the science behind it. But what we want to do right now is take you through a very short meditation, just a little one, because we know and we've seen, and I see in my work with clients and patients, that people who have an ability and a belief system to believe that they can heal can. And there's a lot of amazing research, a lot of it coming out of University of Southern California, showing that you can change DNA, that you can change your own and you can change someone else's by this type of work that we're talking about. It's very exciting, and it's going to stand medicine on its head, because a lot of it lays within you, the ability to heal yourself. And that's not just hearsay anymore. That's not just wishing. We're seeing the science to prove it. So I'd like to bring Barry up now. Thanks, hon. And we're going to take you through a little meditation, just to experience visualizing and thinking through a process that you can do in your own body to heal. If you have leaky gut, if you have something that's bothering you, let's try to do a little bit of healing right here and right now, and try to feel a little bit of this spiritual base that I'm talking about. So I'm going to switch microphones now. Dawn, you got it? Great, because this one sounds better. All right. Let that music flow through you just for a minute. And tap into a belief system. If you don't have one, there is one. And if you do, try to tap into it. Take this time to heal and acknowledge the power of your body to make its own repair. Close your eyes if you haven't already, and relax. Take one long, slow breath. Breathe in and gently let that go. Take one more breath, deep and slow, and relax. Let's begin by visualizing a grid throughout your entire body. Build it from the top of your head to the bottom of your toes. See it. Feel that grid. Now, visualize the billions of molecules traveling throughout your grid, the blueprint of your DNA. What do they look like? And what do they feel like? Watch them travel. You can identify any area in your body that has discomfort, pain, disease. Where is that place? Take another deep breath and visualize a specific pathway along the grid that leads to your area of discomfort. Now visualize your molecules traveling to the area of need. Feel the power and trust their intelligence. They know what to do. Picture them interacting with your cells in a beautiful healing dance. Enjoy the symphony being played by your coherent molecules. Breathe in, take another deep breath, and let it go. You can begin to slowly open your eyes. Just sit and feel. Do you really need the science to show you how powerful your body is and that it can heal? Maybe you do. Maybe you need that for your brain. But you should be able to feel it. And hopefully you had a moment there where you could feel the power of what can happen. And what would happen if you did that every morning when you wake up first thing and before you go to bed at night. If you're not sleeping, maybe you're going to sleep with a very busy, confused brain. And you need to tap in to the inner self, do a little bit of work, and then just let go. And music is one of the best ways to do that. Thank you, Barry. Thank you. Yeah. So the power of the human spirit and the human body is beyond anything. And right now we're researching it, and it's so exciting for the nerdy brains like me to be able to say, see, we told you. I think most of you in this room probably understand it and know it, but how often are you tapping in? And how often are you doing a self-checkup? That checkup I just put you through, when you leave tonight, there is a stack of guidelines for each section. And you should look back at your sheets. Is anything less than an 8, any category less than an 8, it needs some love. It needs some attention. And there are some suggestions on the papers at the back. I would ask you to just choose one. Just choose one thing that you go, I can do that. And start working on it to know that you're progressing forward. And if your overall number is really low, you may know what you should be doing, and you got to ask yourself why you're not doing it. Or if you don't know what to do, ask someone for help. Okay. Thank you. All right. Thank you.
Dr. Donese Worden. And now it's your turn. I promised her that we had a smart crowd, so we're expecting good questions. I will come around to you with the microphone. Please speak into the microphone and not near the microphone, because it doesn't work that way. Stand if you're able, and when we get to your question, we'll get to as many as we can here. If you're online, please use the Q&A feature. And I saw our first hand go up over here, Jeannie.
Hey, thanks so much.
You're the one that knew the
I did.
allulose, so
and actually, you know how I heard about it? On a chairlift about 5 years ago, yakking to some stranger, and I went and looked at it. You had to buy it online. Now you can buy that everywhere.
Anywhere. Yeah.
Anyway, so you said about the ketogenic diet. So I've always used the strips. What's the way to check that?
So you really need to, there's two ways. The actual really way, you can use something like Keto Mojo. You're looking, if you poke your finger, it looks at the glucose and the ketones, and you calculate it into what's called a GKI. We do that with our cancer patients because we have to be in therapeutic ketosis for it to do what we're seeing. They can't cheat. We have to make sure, and if they're not in ketosis, maybe we have to help them with metformin or something to help them get there, right? But for you, there's also one that you can blow in called BioSense. You don't have to poke your finger, blow in it, and it'll tell you exactly where your ketones are. Right, otherwise you're just guessing. And then you're taking out vegetables and things and fruit and other that could be healthy, right?
So I found Dr. Seyfried back in April.
Good.
Took all the carbs and sugars out. Went down a rabbit hole of doctors. Anyways, and then it kind of led into carnivore. And researching that. I'd love to know your thoughts on that and the oxalates in vegetables, if you have knowledge and could share.
Sure. So carnivore means just eating meat, or eating animal products. It's just animal products, so there's no vegetables in that. Our thought is without those minerals that we're going to run into trouble in time, because animals don't eat. They eat the grass and all, but they can't transfer it to us. So we don't know as much about carnivore as we do about ketogenic diet, first of all. We don't know as much. But I will tell you, anytime you clean up your diet, you get rid of the carbs and the sugar, whatever you're starting to do, you're going to feel better and do better. But I will say, for many people, eating just animal products can be problematic. If you have an IgG sensitivity, that's a delayed kind, it's not an allergy, but it's a blood test that you take to look at, do certain foods cause inflammation in you? And if you have allergy, many people have egg sensitivities, dairy sensitivities, they have those. If you're doing those on a carnivore diet, then you're creating inflammation. And red meat itself has been linked with different types of cancer. It has been. We know it. And there's 3 pathways that kind of omegas and omega-6 and 9 go through. One of those is an inflammatory pathway, and those red meats go down that. Now, I don't think it hurts us to have some red meat once or twice a week. Some people that are iron deficiency, I say, okay. But time will tell about the carnivore diet. It's the newest, greatest thing to try. But I just know in the research world, we're not there yet. And I worry that we aren't getting enough minerals, for one thing, okay? And the oxalates in the vegetables. You know what? If you look at the healthiest communities in the world, they eat fish, they eat vegetables, they eat these things. There's always a new thing that happens. We see a little bit of something in research, and everybody goes, there's an idea, and somebody takes off with it, and it becomes a big deal. Oxalates aren't great. They're not. But we've eaten vegetables for very long periods of time, and the minerals that are in there can be highly protective. So again, how much of it right now is like the newest, fattest thing as opposed to real deep research? There's some research about it, some, not long enough and not enough for me to say, okay, everybody quit eating oxalates, right? And we do know the benefit of vegetables for many conditions. And I think it's probably mostly because of the minerals in it. So if you're going to do the carnivore, be taking some minerals, for sure, right? Okay.
Hi, thank you very much for being here and providing such good information to us. I didn't think we'd be talking about being regular, but I'm glad we did. Because
yay, somebody was brave enough to talk
thank you.
about it.
So I have no problems when I'm home.
Yeah.
But does anybody else have trouble when they travel?
Women
I have a big
generally
issue when
do.
I travel.
Women and some men, and here's why. And here's why. Well, first of all, your diet's usually a little different, and stress. You're stressing. Even if you're going on a fun, great family vacation, you're still stressing, getting ready, and you're out of your normal atmosphere. What does that do? It produces cortisol, right? And so you've probably heard about the autonomic nervous system. That's the nervous system that tells your heart to beat and to breathe. There's two arms to that. One is sympathetic, run from the bear, survival. I need to fight or flight. So if you're in fight or flight, running from the bear, even if it's a happy wedding, you're running, you're telling your body, go, go, go. It doesn't know the difference between a happy event and a bear chasing you. It says, you're telling me that I need to go, so I'm going to shut off this other side. Parasympathetic. What's parasympathetic? Digestion, bowel movements, intimacy, repair, DNA repair, detox, all the things that body says, I can clean up and do all the things I need to do if I think I'm safe. When we're not safe, or we're telling the body, I'm out of routine, something's not right, it doesn't know, is it a bear or is she just going on vacation and traveling, right? And so that cortisol, and that's where your meditation and things can help and do that, but mostly diet change and the stress. It shuts off the side that it doesn't need right now. It goes into survival mode. Survival. It will always choose that before it says, I need to cure cancer, or I need to heal this, or have a bowel movement. It's going to choose this.
We've got a follow-up.
Yeah.
So any suggestions what you can do to prevent
Well, try to eat as normally as you usually do, but of course, usually when we travel, we're eating a little junky and all that. So you may have to do something, take more fiber, take something. Now, I don't like the laxatives because it does change melanin to black. When you look on colonoscopies, the cells turn black after senna and all these kind of constipation aids, and we don't know quite what it means. I want to do research on it, but the cells are changing when you're on long-term laxatives. And I don't think it can be a good thing. So something, aloe vera, anything that you know generally helps you, you may need to take more when you travel. And it's okay. You're probably not gonna die from going a couple of days without a bowel movement. You don't feel good and your jeans don't fit, but you know what it is. And if you can relax, meditate, listen to some music, and eat as normally as you can, and take something during the trip, it's okay, but not long term. Okay? More water too. When you travel, you're dehydrated. In the planes and all that, a lot more water. That's another thing. Yes.
Hi.
Hi.
Thank you again so much for coming. Two-part question. One is you mentioned ketogenic diet.
Yep.
How many times a year to do it and for how long? And then also that chamber, which I'm going to go find.
Yep.
How often do we do that as well?
Yeah. So, yes. Well, if you want the longevity things, It really is fasting, it's exercise, the things that I put up there. Those are the things that we know, your telomeres, all that. So let's start with ketogenic diet. I just like, if you could do 4 to 6 weeks, it would be great. Do that. You'll cook at home, or you know what to eat. Now, half the restaurants know. You go, I put olive oil on everything, do this and that. For those of you that aren't real familiar with ketogenic diet, if we have a cancer patient or a neurological patient, Parkinson's, MS, all that, we have to get them into deep therapeutic ketosis. And 70% of the diet is fat. It's avocados, olive oil, coconut oil. They have to work hard to get enough fat because that helps produce the ketones. It's not high protein. It's low protein and very little carbs. And the carbs are pretty much coming from vegetables. That's the ketogenic diet. So a couple times a year, 4 to 6 weeks, go for it. Burn off a little bit of fat stores somewhere. And you may be a thin person, but I know thin people who have fatty livers, a lot. And fatty liver's on the rise. So burning off a little bit of that fat around the liver would be a good thing too. Hyperbaric oxygen, I love it. There are a lot of overseas, shall I say, knockoffs. You don't want those chambers. You want the ones that are FDA approved. Now, for patients who have cancer and other things, we have to go to a higher level. They have to be in a hard shell chamber, at least at the beginning. And those are very expensive. I do have 2 patients, like Jacob's family bought him a hard shell. They're expensive. We're talking $130,000, $140,000, right? And they're big. But you can get soft shells. They look like a sleeping bag. They puff up when you put the oxygen in and all that. They don't take up much room. I have one in my house that my dad, that's the picture that we didn't get to. Let me show you, Dad. Thank you. HBOT USA. HBOT USA is a company that you can trust. They're FDA approved. They will give you everything that you need. Some other places, they send you the chamber. You don't have the pieces you need. So if you want to get the easiest and the best price for the best quality, HBOT USA. And these are what you're going to take home to choose one of these, okay? But let me just talk to you about, Dad. There he is. We had just worked out at the gym, lifting heavy weights, and you see who's behind him is Arnold. And it was so funny because he was sitting there and he was eating ketogenic. Now, my dad at 91, if he gets out of ketosis, he starts shuffling and having trouble speaking. It's like a Parkinsonism. It's not Parkinson's, but it's Parkinsonism. Immediately, when he walks in the door, I know if he's cheated, and he knows it. But hyperbaric oxygen, he does 5 days a week, 2 days off, and he does ketogenic diet. And he golfs 18 holes, even in Arizona in the heat, against my wishes, 3 times a week. Golfing, he dances 5 times a week, goes dancing, and he goes to the gym and works out 3 or 4 times a week. And that's just part of what he does. No excuses. Almost 91, this is the way we're supposed to age. So HBOT USA, what I would say, if you don't have a neurological disease and cancer, and even if you did, sometimes we do the soft shells, the sleeping bag looking one. We do that in the cancer patients that can't get to a hard shell, and we just do it more often. So it depends on what you have. If you're going to do it for health and wellness, I like about 3 days a week. You could do more, but I wouldn't do more than that, and you have to take a break. You have to get with somebody who's trained in it. Those of us that are deep sea diving, we know the protocols that should be used, but you would go low and slow, stay at about 1.3, 1.5 ATAs, don't worry about it, but there's ways to do it, and Jason at HBOT USA would walk you through some of those protocols. What is the healthy protocol? Usually 3 to 4 times a week if you can. How long? An hour. We've got if we've got cancer patients in a soft shell, we are going 90 minutes 2 times a day. 2 times a day, 90 minutes if we can't get to a hard shell. Everybody else, and you want to still take a break. We say after 40 sessions, you want to take a week and a half off because you can oversaturate, right? So it's not, more is not better with any of this. It's about the right protocol and the right dose for the right thing you're trying to do. What are you trying to accomplish with it? And then you get somebody that's working with you that knows what they're doing with it to give you the protocols. Yes. Hi.
What are your thoughts on GLP-1 inhibitors?
Yeah. Well, first of all, the new research is coming out that if you stop it, about 2/3 of the people not only gain the weight back, but more than, and that they've turned their brown fat, which is the good fat, into white fat now. So it's not without risk. Now, getting people to lose weight in general is a good thing. And getting their blood sugar under control, good thing, but they're not getting to the root of the problem, okay? But guess what? There are we have natural agents that work in the exact same mechanism. And one of those, and I won't even call it a natural, it's a molecule that was, actually, I think it got a Nobel Prize recently as well, C15. Look up C15. You can get it online. C15 acts exactly in the same manner with no side effects. So, yeah, I'm not a fan of them.
Sorry, hi. I was going to ask another question, but a statement you made me think of something else.
Okay.
You have to be careful of things that you jump onto when somebody finds something. So,
Yep.
when I think it was probably after World War II, but it was into the 50s and 60s, and it was before I attended medical school, but during my medical school, cholesterol was bad.
Yeah.
Now cholesterol is good. So that's just a warning. But the reason why I bring it up is it made me think about the concept of your sugars.
Yeah.
And what the the food industry did was they started adding to the mayonnaise and margarine and all the things that were supposed to be good for you to avoid the cholesterol, sugar.
Yeah.
So that people enjoyed the taste of these substances. In the beginning, they couldn't sell this stuff.
Right.
And suddenly everybody was eating it.
That's right.
Now, butter is good, eggs are good,
Yeah.
cholesterol is good. I think it's fascinating. And I'm just going to stop there because I'm going to move on to another question for you. But you go ahead and speak on that.
Let me just speak to that really quickly. You're correct. And fructose, high fructose corn syrup, all of that. It's hard to go out in the grocery store and find anything in a package that doesn't have these things.
Allulose.
Sugar is addictive. It lights up the neurons. You got it, allulose. Sugar lights up the same parts of your brain as cocaine. It's addictive. Why do you think it's in everything? If I wanted to make billions and billions of dollars and that was my goal, I mean, I'm not saying that was the real reason, but it had to be palatable and they know it's addictive. Now it's up to us, allulose, right. And you're right, so cholesterol is needed to make hormones. It's not a bad guy. It's only when you have inflammation that creates that calcification that you know, and then the cholesterol sticks on it. It's part of the plaque. It's not the bad guy, it's part of it. There are bad cholesterols though. LP(a), that's one you guys should all get tested for. That one and ApoB, those do cause inflammation. Those are bad guys, and the only thing right now that works to bring down LP(a), there's not a drug. There's not a cholesterol. Your statins won't touch it. The only thing that'll bring it down is niacin. There's a drug in works. It may end up being okay. We'll see. But right now, niacin, a B vitamin, gets to LP(a). You want to bring down the bad cholesterol, the piece, that's the one.
And let me just say hit on the word sugar.
Yeah.
These polysaccharides and disaccharides are bad for you.
Sure.
But glucose is very, very important. So please don't hit hard on glucose. Your brain metabolism is almost 90% glucose, not ketones.
Right.
Glucose.
But correct, but glucose if you have enough insulin and the pancreas is making it to get it inside the cells where it's supposed to be, it gives us energy and does its job, right? When we have resistance, now it's a problem, it's floating. But these ketones are a good, clean fuel. And when you have a brain tumor, glioblastoma, and those type that are very 100% dependent on that glucose, when you starve that down off of that, that's when we start. The studies that we're doing mostly are in those brain tumors, because if you make any effect there, everybody stands up and says, okay, we need to be looking at this. You know.
I'm a brain surgeon.
There you go. So you know. Yeah. So glucose is not a bad guy in what the body is producing. Everything turns to glucose, guys. Your meat, your carnivore, your vegetables, everything eventually is going to get there. It's fuel. It's not a bad guy. It's when you overload the body with it, and it's not getting in where it needs to go.
Can I say two more things?
Yeah.
So even more than it's the hip belly ratio that's most important.
Now,
There you go.
look up in the last 3 days, they just
The
came out.
circumference around your pelvis versus around your
Right,
belly.
no, I understand, and I agreed with that, but the last 3 days, they've just come out with the round effect, which now, I think they had 10,000 people in the study. Now they say it's really the height compared to the belly. That's new, what I
Now we're
just
getting
brought
back
up.
to BMI that way, though.
The BMI is done. That's never been good. But yeah, now it's called the round effect or round therapy. BRI, yeah. So evidently, yes, belly over the hip, yes, but now they're saying compared to heights.
Yes.
It's interesting.
And finally, the hyperbaric. Can I just say something
Yeah,
about that?
yeah.
So one of my good friends was a hyperbaric medicine individual, and down in Denver, one of the first hyperbaric chambers in the state was down there. We used to see a lot of people coming and using it.
Yeah.
But just to warn people, you really do need the big, huge chamber, I think, to get a benefit, and it's $250,000 to get it. But I have tried it with cancer patients. But the interesting thing is in wound healing, and sometimes in chronic wound healing, hyperbaric therapy can help. Yeah.
Like we said, that 14 indications. I will say Chris Smith, the head of Barrows, which you probably know in Barrows and Neurological, he uses keto and hyperbaric on most of his. But I will say that I agree, if you can get a hard shell, the brain tumor, better. But when you can't, we are seeing the soft shells do not as much as that hard shell, but for benefit of just general health and stem cells, I think the soft shells are okay. I know. Well, I hope they do. I hope they get the cost down on all of this. Right. I hope they do. And I think it will be it'll be years for any of this is standard of care. But it's worth looking at. And I work with oncologists all over the world. I don't work against them. I work with them, right? To say, what are you seeing? What does the patient want to do? What do you want to do? What are you looking at? And now let's look at what are the ancillary, because hyperbaric oxygen and ketogenic diet cause chemosensitivity. It helps it work better, less side effects, and lower doses. And so it's got a lot of other benefits. And then we've got a new liquid biopsy test. I don't know if are you familiar with the DATAR test? Yeah. So I utilize that, not just looking at with oncologists on what they're using on their side, but also on the other side. People are spending all this money on vitamin C IVs, and it may not be helping them, and maybe helping to protect some of those cancer cells. So I look at a lot of data before we decide what's the protocol. Yeah.
Dr. Worden, we are out of time, and we try to end on time, so I want to honor everybody. In addition to the packet at the back, do you have one closing thought for the group here? If there's one key takeaway.
Yeah. Nature's given us most of what we need. We have an onslaught of environmental and other things and stress and all that, but our bodies are really, really wise. Feed it what it needs, take out what it doesn't. It pretty much knows what to do. Sometimes you're going to have bad luck. You're going to run into a gene. Something is going to happen. But for the most part, your body is smarter than any doctor, any medicine, any therapy is ever going to be. The right dose at the right time with no side effects. It makes its own healing molecules. Tap into that. That's the best medicine.
Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Donese Worden.
Thank you.